All right, listen. I'm just going to dispel the rumors right away. We're just going to lay it out all out on the table. Yes, I have been drinking. Yes, I'm replaying Axiom Verge with this express intent of talking shit about it the whole time I play it. And yes, I have been banned from the Detroit Zoo for yelling harassing things at the penguins. But we're not going to talk about any of that. We're going to talk about Axiom Verge right now. Because I haven't played this game in probably like 8 years, or whenever it was released. And since I just beat Rain World, and I'm on a Metroidvania kick, and I guess Axiom Verge 2 is coming out this year, I think it's time that I did a little bit of a replay to remember exactly why I had problems with this game. Not like problems as in I couldn't beat it, because you can see from the save up there I clearly did. Problems in the sense of it was not an enjoyable experience for me by the end of it, and I had a lot of criticisms of the game. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some people that disagree with me. You're welcome to leave comments. I will not read them. But I will reply with at least one friend's quote for every reply you leave, so maybe that's some incentive for you if you're really into that. We're going to do hard because this is a video game and I'm good at those. I'm not kidding about the drinking thing. I am actually doing that right now. This is going to be a Chronicles episode with a subtitle of replay. I'll try and generally chronicle new games, but given how long it's been since I played this game, I certainly don't remember exactly where to go. So we're going to consider this effectively a fresh gaming experience. That's right, there's a speedrun mode where it doesn't play any of the story, which is frankly a blessing, and I should have chosen that, but I didn't. Because it's basically just the story from Out of This World, but more writing involved. You're a scientist and you blast yourself to another place, and then you have special stuff happen. God, can I skip this? Oh, I can super skip this cutscene. Sorry to anybody who actually wanted to care about the story. We're not doing that right now. This game is trying very hard to be like the original Metroid. Cool, we're jumping. We have first input. We've begun the game. So this guy is like, he's simultaneously like floaty, but he's got so much upward momentum. Very vertical. Like lock position. Oh, because you can aim. I don't care about any of this. I really don't. Okay, so we got that. We can. That's for shooting. Wait, is it LB for for locking position? Okay, so I can aim while staying still. Got it. Okay, cool. Got it. One of the things that I was not a huge fan of with this game is the music is almost too on theme, in that it gets kind of abrasive at times. Which, like, ugh. I mean, I just got done with Rain World, which is very experimental, but this doesn't feel experimental. It feels like it's trying to go for a particular aesthetic, and it's just doing too much all at once. I'm going up because that's the way you usually go, but I'm going to go in this door because I feel like it. That's the thing I can't get past. I'm not going to do it right now. I want to say, I'm absolutely willing to give this game another shot. I just remember that by the end of it, I was just really annoyed with some stuff, and I think that's because of some of the clever things it does towards the end of the game, which we're probably not going to see in an episode of this. I don't remember all of it. I was talking to my friend Alex, who you may or may not have noticed I did a Blasphemous video for. I have other Blasphemous content. I have been continuing to play Blasphemous. Man, I'm doing great. And I have recorded, but I haven't been talking over any of that. That's going to be part of Chronicles as well. I just want to have a record of the games that I've been playing, sort of for my own benefit. I mentioned that on the last episode of Hello David. And I'll continue saying it until anybody who shows up on a random video is totally aware of it. So, yeah. So there will be more Blasphemous content if you just want to see my Blasphemous playthrough. It's almost too bad I wasn't recording voice in some parts because some really funny shit happened where I'm like, well, I sure played myself there. So that ought to be a good time. And I'm going to really enjoy looking back on the videos and looking at some of that stuff. By the way, I do not remember anything about where I'm supposed to go for this game. So I'm literally just doing what you do in these games, which is wandering until you hit a dead end. That was something I remember having a hard time. There we go, dead end, and that hurts. I remember what this game is. There's not always a great sense of where to go in the same way as you usually get in Metroidvanias. You usually get a clear indicator of... I mean, early on, it's much less of an issue. But there was some, like, I got seriously stuck on my first playthrough, which I'm actually surprised to see that it was 12 hours. I don't remember the game being that long. I remember it being a lot shorter of a game. Oh, cool. At least, I kind of like they do the parallax background thing, but I'm kind of bummed they only do, like, the Gradius thing, where they just have one sort of constantly repeating background all over everything. Like, I feel like, especially Hollow Knight has really set the bar very high that 2D platformers have a lot of stuff going on as far as, like, environmental design goes. That's a thing. That gun, that special gun, Nova. So I can, what's the button for changing my weapon type? 1 second. Inventory, gamepad config, grapple cancel, menu map, jump fire, quick select is, oh, is it push in? No, that's for assigning a quick select for 1 and 2. I might have been playing this on the drill address bomb, yep, sure. Okay, well, that'll work for now. Okay, there we go. I'll mess around with it. I'm going to change out every weapon when I get a new one. Because that's kind of like... For a game... I know this game offers a lot as far as... Ah, I see. This game offers a lot as far as weapons are concerned. So it feels like sort of missing most of the game experience if you don't try them out. This quick select's actually going to be pretty nice, I gotta say. Let's see. I think I saw that this game was released 2012? Is that right? No, I saw 2012 somewhere on something. I might be totally misremembering that. I got this game when I first moved in with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, back in, was it 2015? Oh, I'm almost dead. It's got, yeah, it was 2015. So that is definitely at least how old the game is. I don't know what hard does. I just assume it makes everything hit harder. Let's see, map is, oh, there's not a, is there a dedicated map button? Yeah, I'm doing that. Oh, I guess it doesn't just default to the map. Okay, so we got the up, which we've already determined it's not anything valuable. And we've got other directions, so we'll do that. So, I want to talk about the color palette for a second here real quick. The only thing we've gotten so far is red for environmental stuff and purple for enemies, and sort of a mix for enemies, which I feel like is not great in the sense that it makes it difficult. It doesn't actually make it difficult, but you want your visuals to read very clearly. Okay, so I know I can go up here doing that. You want your visuals to read very clearly. You want enemies to clearly be enemies, and you want friends to, or you want like environment to be clearly environment. Now they've got the background is red also, so like you really want to go for contrasts. And they, oh my god. Let's see. Let me just go ahead. I'll go back and I'll save, because otherwise I have to do all this shit again. Oh, that's how I do it. It's right stick. Okay, cool. Let's just go the quick way here, down the side. Yeah. I may be drunk, but I'm not stupid. You understand? It might seem like a nitpick about the color theory stuff, but go back and look at Super Metroid. Literally, like, the grandmother of the series, and they have, you start off in an area where Samus is yellow and the environment is purple, your accent color is red, and the accent color on the environment is green. They literally did opposite colors for everything, and it's fucking perfect. I'm drinking Glenlivet 12 year because I wanted something that I get fairly sloshed on, but I wouldn't like churn through super quickly. It's called being economical with your alcohol. In these times where we can't leave the house, it's good to have an efficient drinking supply. Okay, I'll go back up to the top. So yeah, color theory stuff like that is pretty crucial, I think, to good environmental design. And I mean, this game is already like, you look at the map they stuck to this very simple color palette. It's basically like this muddy color and red and purple. See, these guys stand out. This is a good choice. I don't know why they didn't do it for the other ones. They could have done the other guys as green. That would have been great. I mean, like, maybe they thought green was going to be viewed as friendly, but generally there's, I don't know. There's plenty of ways to handle this without, can I jump on it? Good. Plenty of ways to handle this without confusing the player. I remember feeling like once I got to the end of this game that there was just too many weapons. It's too much stuff. And not in like the Symphony of the Night way where you had like a zillion short swords and everything had a little bit of flavor. Like none of these things felt like they had flavor. If you're gonna have a lot of things and they're not all useful, they should add, well, if they're not all mechanically useful, they should be useful to the storytelling. Now everything's red. Okay, cool. There's a thing, I got a thing. What did that do? Okay, cool, my gun shoots bigger. That's nice. Like, I get the sense that this game was made out of, like, a sort of deep love for Metroid and Metroidvanias. And it seems like they really like, I'm sort of halfway working on my own game myself. I'm not going to pretend I'm a game designer yet, in the, like, the sense that I have literally not finished the game. But, I do obviously care about the principles that go into game design here. And, one of the things I've been learning in going through my own process is that you really start with the core aesthetic or experience that you're trying to generate, and you develop mechanics that allow you to deliver that. You don't start with, these are the, or hopefully not, but you don't start with these are the mechanics I have available. What aesthetic can I make? Actually, you know, I would view that as acceptable so long as you, I saw the guy there, so long as you let that be a driver behind the game you produce. And sometimes it feels like with you know, any creative endeavor, it'll feel like the designer both had an experience they had in mind, but they also had a set of mechanics that they wanted to use, and those things don't actually line up, and they don't try to reconcile them in the same way. Because it's really not hard to make a 2D platformer or a Metroidvania at all. Okay, that's a boss room, I remember that. It's not hard to make one. You put a bunch of rooms together, you make a guy who can jump and shoot, and you basically have like the bones of one. But a good Metroidvania takes a lot more work, and that's why you see well, there's a lot of mediocre ones out there. There's ones that sort of miss the mark. Okay, that's where I come back from. And my opinion of Axiom Verge, at least from what I remember, and I'm going to continue to develop a new one as I go along here, is that it sort of also had the same problem, was that it had a lot of components that represented a Metroidvania, but it didn't effectively develop the aesthetic of exploration that's necessary. Yo, what up? Yep. I'm gonna punch this guy a lot. Because like a Metroidvania is not simply about having a room or a bunch of rooms that you run around in a map. It's about having a series of systems that drives you to explore those rooms and to want to explore those rooms. And at least part of that is having good world design, so that you like are like, cool, I understand the area that I'm in a little bit better. I understand the world I'm in a little bit better from the experiences that I'm having. I can also just do this, just be like, just go boom on his face over and over again. Not gonna overthink this process at all. Yeah, and so when you just sort of have like a bunch of areas that are not really descript or don't have anything unique to them, either visually or mechanically or whatever. Oh, cool, I'm almost dead. You kind of, you haven't really made a Metroidvania, you've just made a weak 2D platformer. So, yeah. That, I don't know. I'm halfway focusing here to try not to die, because I realize I do have like 1 health left, but, oh, yeah, like that. So I think we just respawn, right? I don't think there's a death counter in this game. Whatever happens if you beat this game without dying? I don't know. I'd love to hear somebody give an explanation for what makes this game stand out in a way that other games haven't effectively already done themselves. Not that there's not room to create a game that is sort of like a... I mean, you don't want a carbon copy of another game, right? You want to add something new to the space. If you're creating art, you want to try and say something fresh and original. Otherwise, like, that's why the term derivative is said with, you know, as sort of with a negative connotation, is you want to try and have not necessarily just something that's novel, but something that's that adds to the design space. And like, so okay, I do know, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't played this game before. I don't know why you're watching this playthrough if you haven't played the game before, because I'm very clearly not. This is not a newbie-friendly experience. This is me chronicling my own playthrough for my own benefit. But this game has some mechanics where you sort of like, it's sort of, it breaks the gaminess of it. Like, you can just walk through walls, or you can like rewrite memory. Like the notion of it being a game is sort of accepted as part of the experience. That's neat. That's definitely a novel idea. But there's really not, I don't know. I don't remember there being much else about either the narrative or the whole experience that really supports that as well. You notice I'm paying much more attention where those things are dropping. I'm not taking damage this time. That's because I care about you, the viewer, who's probably going to be me. I'm like the only one. That's okay. Oh man, he's wigging out. Oh, he's dead now. I don't need any of this shit though. Yep, can't reach it. So yeah, I'd love to hear about what anybody thinks is sort of something that this game does that really stands out from other ones. And not just distinct mechanics here, like, cool, we have a drill, you know, like, that's bombs from Super Metroid. We've seen that. What about that mechanic is, you know, effective for a Metroidvania? What that really adds to it? Okay, I can burn through these too. And then there's another weapon, I assume. Oh, okay, just increases damage. All right. I also remember that there is an area, and I'm sure somebody who's watching this can give me the name. Oops. There's an area in this game that has just the most abrasive fucking music in the world. That, unfortunately, was the area that I got lost in. Or I kept having to go back there or something. Map. I'll go down. We go down. Did I go through this door? Oh, I did, but I needed the drill to go through. We're just gonna go. I don't have to jump, turns out. Oh, those guys actually did hurt me. There wasn't a lot of collision to tell me. That's fine. Ow. Okay, well, I'm not dead yet, and apparently, like, you don't lose progress. You just go back to a save point, so that's not a huge deal. I don't think that's a problem either. I don't think there's been a game that you need the memory rewrite for that. There hasn't been a game in a long time in this genre that I can think of where you just straight up lose progress. Like, you go back to a save point and everything you did is lost. You don't get any health pickups. You don't get any map coverage. Yeah, you just, like, that's it. You're just back. Which is good because there's really no reason for that. There should be a certain amount of progression that happens both mechanically. I mean, like, for the older games, the whole point, well, I don't know if it was the whole point, everything was trying to be an arcade game. Wait, let me go back there real quick. I forget if they hide anything in save rooms, but I want to check to see if there's something over here on the left. They don't. Older games were trying to be like arcade games, that's why they were hard, but you can actually kill guys with that too. But if you think about it, the idea is sort of that your progression is your own, you as a player, your own experience with the game, so you go back to it and you know what's there and you know where you have to go, and so even though, like, there's no map coverage to show you specifically, you kind of remember. But there's not specifically a value to that if there's not other systems to kind of reinforce that idea. Like, shit, I mean, I just did Rain World, and Rain World even gives you map coverage. Oh, fuck off. Which I understand the designers were very hesitant to give, but it's a fairly large game and a fairly, not labyrinthine, because that's a straight line, but a fairly maze-like map. And so the map is kind of necessary, and the map coverage, too, seems sort of necessary for that. So I'm glad to see this game took that design sensibility seriously. I'd be very frustrated with it if it didn't. I'd be very frustrated with any game that doesn't have a good reason for doing that, that did that. Okay. I don't like this. I'm going to say it right now. I don't like the fact that we have background and foreground, and the foreground here is light colored, but it's actually a pit. You're supposed to make the lighting for areas that are, if the terrain is walkable, it should look walkable. If it's background, it should look background. And technically, the terrain there was background, so they should have done something else with the... I know there's not actually lighting, but you know what I'm saying. The shading on the space should have been better for that. I will continue to be critical of what seems like nitpicks here because I think they're incredibly necessary to a good and seamless gameplay experience. I don't have the thing yet for over here. And it's not just, if it's not clear, I'm not just nitpicky with other people's stuff. I'm nitpicky with my own things. I want things that I create to be good, and so I'm not going to settle for something that doesn't like take all of these things into consideration, that doesn't take all these design sensibilities into consideration. And I would expect the same thing. There's more health, right? I expect the same thing from any designer who wants to complete a project. Games for a long time were sort of second class as an artistic medium, and we've gotten to a lot better space with them now. We have 30 years of game design experience. And hell, even go back and play Super Metroid and realize that game was like... So technically, Super Nintendo is 4th generation, but you can kind of think of 3rd generation and the NES as the first point where video games started really gaining legitimacy as a not necessarily as a medium, but there's a lot going on with those games. Now go back to Super Nintendo and look at some of the games from that era. Actually, get a complete list of Super Nintendo games, and then from that, determine the games that are actually worth remembering. And there's only like 3 or 4 dozen of them out of like hundreds, an impressively small number of games. And of those, only a few hold up as like, wow, holy shit, this is still a really, really good game. Like the only thing I kind of want to go through a ROM hack of Super Metroid, or like create a ROM hack of Super Metroid, to just modernize a couple of really minor details of it. Most of it has to do with the mapping system, or like how the map is displayed, and I'd love to add more parallax effects to the background, but like that's it. Like the game is otherwise extremely solid. It was made by a bunch of dudes making, like, I mean, they didn't have anything else to go off of. They clearly cared about the craft. They were not making... I'm just gonna keep going down until it tells me to stop. There we go. They were not making games as sort of a throwaway, like, hey, how much money can we pull on this? You don't put the kind of effort into a game that they put into on Super Metroid if you're doing that. Fuck, that's gonna reset his health bar. Oh, it might not. It did not. Interesting. That's actually kind of nice. That level of persistence is not common in games with rooms. That one's on me. This one's got more health, I remember that. So yeah, if games from 25 years ago, if games from 25 years ago can take design sensibility seriously, so can you, Mr. or Mrs. Modern Game Designer. I think everybody should, because games are not... You can make a lot of money off of games. Look at Jonathan Blow and Braid / The Witness. Look at Hollow Knight has done exceptionally well for Team Cherry, like... You can, in both of those cases, those teams were trying to make good art, and they did a great job with it. Oh man, that's a big climb to get all my health back. I'll just die. What does it matter, right? There's no downside to me dying. I might as well just keep going and get the map coverage. So yeah, I mean, don't try and be the next, indie game royalty. but do try and take your designs seriously. You got guys like Mark Brown with Game Maker's Toolkit really laying out the components that make good games in different facets. There's a lot of tools available. I remember reading a lot of Game Sutra articles back in the day. I'm sure Game Sutra is still around. It focuses more on GDC, Game Developers Conference type stuff, and giving developers themselves an opportunity to write their own articles to explain their own design thoughts. You know, I should probably try the other one to see if it does just a little bit more damage, because maybe the single shot counts as all 6 of them together. 3. I need to test how many shots the guy takes otherwise. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4? Okay, yeah, it's not really that much better. Okay, so this is all glitch stuff. You got to use the whatever on the address writer thingy. Yeah, so like I love Metroidvanias as a genre, and I want to see good games be created in them, whether they're beautiful games. Like Aquaria is an earlier title, like more closer to the indie renaissance, and that game is just beautiful. You know, it's not a traditional Metroidvania in that it does kind of the Echo the Dolphin thing where you're swimming, but it's, you know, it's still a beautiful game. It's got great music. It's got a large world. It's got a lot of creatures. It's got a pretty robust design. The song system was interesting, even if it wasn't, like, eventually I was just using the hotkeys the whole time. But like, yeah, so you know, you always want to strive for that. You could see very much the influence of the original Metroid on the design here with the green gunks sitting around. It's kind of like Kraid's Lair. Yeah, and so like, I guess to bring it back to Axiom Verge, go back and play the first Metroid for me, and do it without a map, and do it without anything else. Metroid isn't really a good series until Super Metroid. The first game was formative. It was important, and it really established a lot of stuff for the genre. The Super Metroid is what actually made the genre. We didn't have this concept of like a, you know, continuous world adventure game, you know, where you're gated by locks and keys. You know, like Mark Brown did Boss Keys to talk about this exact concept. That really opened up with Super Metroid. And so, if you're gonna make a game that's maybe not a spiritual successor, but a spiritually influenced by one of those titles, I don't know why you wouldn't do Super Metroid, because that's the one that's got a lot more fertile ground to work off of. I mean, I guess maybe there's a nostalgia factor for this. Cool, let me just walk into projectiles. Oh, you can't aim this diagonally. Oh, you can. There we go, that's what I was trying to do. I missed my shot. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is maybe don't base your game off of the original Metroid. I like games, and I like classic titles, and I'm willing to put up with a lot of their bullshit. But the original Metroid's got a lot of, it's not as good of a game as Super Metroid is. And I think there's probably NES titles that are, you know, on par. Like, Super Mario Bros. 3 is good. Super Mario Bros. 2 is not actually Super Mario Bros. 2. It's was it Doki Doki Panic? Was that the name of it? No, hold on. No, I can't Google it right now. I'm playing a video game. Somebody in the comments tell me what Super Mario Bros. 2 originally was in Japan, because it was not Super Mario Bros. 2. It was a different game, and then was brought to America. They, like, reskinned it as a Mario game. And then they, like, changed the ending, so it's all a dream. Spoilers. You're going to get a lot of spoilers about old video games in these Chronicles videos if I'm talking over them. I can't make it up there. Just a heads up on that. I guess I could keep going down the other way where I died, right? Maybe not. I'll go until I hit enough dead ends, and then I'll go through all the dead ends and figure out which ones I can actually go through after all. I don't know. I'm having a problem, too, with the contrast in this as well. I hate this pink color, man. I'm sorry. Guys and gals and everything in between, I hate this pink color. At least they did the green stem here to do a contrast in that. That's good. That was one of the things I remember about this game, is the environmental design is just sort of like, everything's just very, not blah, but like, it doesn't feel good, Which I guess the goal was to be like, hey, it's an alien world and everything should feel alien. And it kind of feels like a 1980s impression of what's alien, which is definitely what they were going for. Especially, this actually has a feeling of the movie Alien. I forget if there was any influence on that. Oh, that's the face thing. Hold on, I'll go talk to him in a second. If there's any influence from the movie Alien on these games, on the Metroid games, like especially the original. Yeah, here we go. I figured there's a save point nearby. Save. Is that a terminal over there? That's good sketch. Man, I'll be totally honest. I'm going to finish this game. I'm going to play through it again. But I kind of already am bored. Like... Also, I just want to point out that the character absolutely looks like Starburns from Community. Does anybody else see that? He looks like fucking Starburns. Less sans Starburns, but... they're trying to convey a sense of mystery, and they want me to keep going, and, like, maybe it's because I already know more or less what the story is. Hold on, let me, there we go. Yeah, this one's really good. I remember this one being very strong. Because I can just blast the shit out of dudes, like, shotgun style. Oh, did I die here before, or did I just not come here? Maybe I died here. I must have died here. Or I just went back. Whatever. I don't know. I don't really get bored of Metroidvanias because it's essentially the same formula over and over again. Like, let's be real. It's... You go to an area and you do some platforming and there's stuff and you do the stuff and it's cool and it's good. That is definitely not the problem. I think the problem is, at least for one, the character's not there's not really any dynamics going on with the character. You're running and you're jumping. And before anybody gives me a hard time, I know that every Metroidvania game is you're running and you're jumping. But the way the character feels is vital. Blasphemous, even the Penitent one has some weight. Like, Blasphemous has kind of grown on me. It's got some design issues, and I'll be happy to talk about those, because I'm going to start talking over the future Blasphemous episodes again. I just kind of want to break. But he's got some weight to him, you know, and there's decisions you have to make about... Oh, I did. Decisions you have to make about platforming. You kind of have to consider things, but this is just like, do I have to jump or do I just keep going, you know? There's not a lot of weight to anything. When I say weight, I mean, like, there's no kickback on the gun. Like, there's a very little bit of animation, kickback animation. But the character is just like, they run and they jump. They go up at the same speed that they fall down at the same speed. It's a very basic experience. And that sense of immersion for the character is really critical to, I mean, like, it's the game feel, and you don't have a good game without good game feel. So, like, unless this game had a just absolute dynamite, super interesting world to it, then it really is going to live or die on its game feel. Like, you look at a game like Celeste, whose game feel is just absolutely phenomenal, and I realize it's not a Metroidvania, but it is a platformer. And the way Madeline moves feels good. It feels satisfying to play Madeline. You kind of, the litmus test is kind of, if you stuck your character in a blank room with just a couple of platforms and nothing to do, would it be fun to do that? I don't care that I took damage, it's fine. I'm going to die again in like 2 seconds. Let me go ahead and switch back to a weapon that I can do a little bit more range on these dudes with. Interesting. Oh, okay, so it'll always switch to one of the other ones? Strange. Lots of dead bodies, it's very ominous. I like this, it's good atmosphere. But yeah, if you stuck your character in more or less a blank room, with not much else to do, would it be fun to play them? And this character would not be fun to play. This is what you create when you're first learning Unity, and you are just trying to get, like, I just need, like, something to get my physics started. Uh-oh, I did. Yeah. You're just trying to get your physics started. So, yeah, I mean, like, I have an entire game of playing this character, and I remember there's not any serious movement techniques you get. So there's no, like, advanced movement tech, or there's no, like, speed up or slow down of the character movement. All that stuff is really important, and this game has none of it. So it has an okay world. in that it's weird and alien, but it doesn't have a lot of depth to it. And you don't get to move any cooler. So the only thing that's left is these guns. And there's a lot of them. Hold on. There we go. There's a lot of them, but then I remember there's one that's just too good. Come on. Really? Okay. You do your thing. You do your thing. Okay, I'll play this a little bit more careful now. Don't worry, I'm sure everybody's yelling at me about how bad I'm playing. Everybody leave a comment about how bad I'm playing, please and thank you. And I guess I recognize also that there needs to be a space for games. There needs to be a space for players who are not as big on the subtle momentum kind of deal. Like, they just want a character that just handles and that's it. I guess I get that. I don't know. I feel like it's better to create a game where you can just not use all of the tools available than to lack tools in the first place. Because there's plenty of games that I'll play where there's ways to make the game easier, and I'll play the game so it's harder. Like, I mean, you saw me. I picked hard at the beginning here. I've been playing this game in probably like 5 years, but I'm still going to play it on hard mode because that's just, I mean, I got enough years behind me. It seems kind of unfair for me to, especially if I'm going to be assessing a game from an overall game feel standpoint. I want to have as much challenge as possible to force me to use as many tools as possible. So there's definitely got to be a space for that, but at the same time, with how diverse, like, there's a lot of games now. There's a fuck ton of games. There's probably thousands of worthwhile games to play. Maybe high hundreds, right? And so there's got to be something for everybody. And so that doesn't mean that every game, Boss Room, we don't need to have every game cut into every type of player, and that's okay. You can, like, Dark Souls sort of established this premise of, and let's see, a number of episodes between when I have mentioned Dark Souls, set it back to 0. Dark Souls set up this premise of, like, well, we're gonna set up a contract for what's expected of you, the player, and we're not really gonna bend on that. Where do I shoot again? Somewhere. Weak point's gonna open up. Great. Oh, is it the top? Okay, cool. You know, I could just go in the back and just do this. I remember this. Yep. Keep accidentally hitting the stick in. See, this seems like an oversight. Is it gonna step back and kill me? Is that a possibility? No, it's not. I remember doing this on at least one other boss, too. This seems like a really major oversight that you can just do this. This is bad game design. I'm gonna call it out. This is bad game design. But yeah, so, like, there's enough games out there for everybody, and you can just say, this is our contract for the game, and I'll use the word contract because I write software for a living, and that concept comes up a lot. So maybe I'll explain it in a little more detail, but let me finish my thought here. The game has this contract, and you as the player are expected to live up to it, and if you don't like it, then don't play the game. You won't get whatever the full experience is, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. But I think diminishing the contract in too many ways, like, as in by not offering tools that allow you to challenge yourself or to be more, I guess, technically involved in the gameplay experience, is not the way to do that. So, two thoughts. One, I'm going to explain contracts in a little bit more detail. What I mean by that is that you have a set number of actions that you can perform in the game, and a set number of interactions that you can have with the game with those actions. So in the MDA model of game design, that would be your dynamics. So, like, in Rain World, if you want to go watch any of my Rain World videos, I learned that the contract is that things that can't kill you are probably helpful in some capacity. And that is part of the contract, is that you should recognize that the dynamic of enemies that can't, or creatures that can't kill you, are helpful. And it's up to you to figure out how to work that. Cool, that's RB. All right, got it. So that's what a contract is. So the second thing is, I want to be clear that I know that there's a lot of people who get very angry about the concept of dumbing down video games. And I don't think that's really the issue I'm talking about here, where like, oh, they have an easy mode for this game, that's dumbing it down. It's like, nah, that part's fine. That part is not an issue. The issue is not that you can have a weaker contract. The issue is that there is not an option for a stronger contract or a more involved contract in the first place. So this game doesn't really have oh, I gotta not stand on them. This game doesn't really have an option for a much more involved contract than what it has up here. Hard mode is enemies deal more damage. Okay. Hard mode is not, you get new movement abilities, you have more things that you can do. That's what I mean by it has like a stronger contract. Okay, so that's just like a shortcut back up there. I guess I'll keep going this way. So yeah, Dark Souls is a very tight contract, and people really appreciate it for the fact that it has a very tight contract. Super Metroid actually, impressively, has a pretty good contract as well, in that you can do things like the Shine Spark and the wall jump, which are not exposed at the beginning of the game, but are there. They're omnipresent, or not omnipresent, but they're there the whole time to begin with. You can wall jump from the start of the game, and it's not until later that you, the player, figure it out that it becomes unlocked for you, and that's cool stuff. So if fucking Super Nintendo games can do it, you know, your game can figure out how to do it too. Granted, you don't need to have stuff like that, but there's no. I think the ability to have advanced tech is good for a gameplay experience. Okay, so these things do something, I think. Okay, they still hurt me. Uh-oh. Well, that didn't help me at all. I'll just take the damage, it's fine. Oh, is it wrecking shit? Yeah, it's wrecking shit. Cool, okay. So there's a path down there. Is that for secrets? Oops, didn't mean to do that. I think many things. Oh, I can still kill these guys. Good to know. Ultimately, the issue is about whether or not the game has depth to it. Not just complexity, in that you can have a lot of systems. You can have a lot of systems. I'm trying to think of an example of a game that has just too many fucking systems in it. I like games with a lot of systems. Any war game simulator, like Civilization, not exactly war games per se, but any of those games. Crusader Kings has a lot of systems, and for people who like a lot of systems, that's wonderful. Or even games that just have a lot of meta systems, like PvP games. You know, the whole meta game is its own system that you have to learn. Like, that's good. You should have that level of depth. But there's still fun there you can have, even if you're not a total, you know, metagame edgelord. Why is that thing showing up? Okay. Now, you can have games that have almost none of that. Oh, you know what? I'm wondering if I was supposed to do something with the address manipulator. I remember this being a point where I'm stuck, right? It like blocks me off here. Like I go over something and then like I can't get back. Vaguely recall that. So, okay. What I am not saying is every game needs to have advanced tech in it. What I am saying is that if you're going to build a game that is ultimately about discovery and exploration, you probably should have more to it than just there's a lot of rooms to go look at. And if you do, then those rooms should be interesting to look at, and they should provide something. You need to have, whether those systems are narrative or mechanical or whatever, you need to have a good amount of depth to your systems. And I don't remember this game having a lot of that, which is too bad. Because I think there probably is something to the concept of like, what if we made a game where you're on an alien planet and it feels truly alien and you feel truly alone, and it's kind of like these other, you know, nostalgic experiences we had. The experience it seems like they're going for is how can we recapture the experience of the original Metroid, or of like this kind of game. I would be deeply surprised if one of their primary influences was not the original Metroid, because there's a lot about this that feels like that. It's like a log. Oh, I can do that to make a platform? Cool. I see these things. I notice these things. Don't worry. It calls itself Zeter. I don't know how I know this. Stranger says I'm one of the stranger. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure how long it can last. I'm not going to rate any of this stuff right now. I can spoil it for people who want to know what's going on, who don't care about playing this game. I'll do that in a later episode. This is your one warning. If you somehow didn't start with episode 1, and you start on a later episode, and I start talking about what I remember about this game, that's your fault. Simpsons style. I'm going to swing my arms around, and if you walk into them, I'm going to walk forward, and if you're in the way, it's your fault. So, yeah. I won't talk about any of that here. Oh, I gotta go this way. Or the other way, maybe. Maybe I do want to go down. That doesn't matter. I'll hit a dead end eventually, and that'll be that. Because I remember this game's fairly linear with its areas. Yeah, over here. Can I remember? Okay, no. This is where I get another power-up that lets me, like, corrupt shit. I think. That's not a spoiler in the same way that the story spoilers are. Chill out. Yeah. So I don't know. I've had some critical things to say about this game. Sorry if that bothers you. My goal is not, like 0%. My goal is ever to be like, every video game sucks. Because I've seen videos where people just like seem like they want to get mad, and like I want to have fun with games. Like I really do. I like playing games. I like playing games a lot. But hell, the whole reason I've begun recording myself playing games is because of Hello David, and I realized I'm already playing the games. Why don't I just record myself doing it? Because I would love to have a record of like the first time I play some of these titles. So it's, yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna be a YouTube star. It's all right. Anybody that stumbles along this and finds value in it, that's wonderful. But yeah, like I'm not out here trying to like start shit. I remember when I was much younger, my older brother, who is a actually fairly successful fantasy artist, who I won't name because I don't want to out myself just yet. At some point, I probably won't care if people know who I am, but for now, I won't worry about it. But my brother's a fairly successful fantasy artist. When we were kids, I remember he's very critical too. It's a trait of my family. There's definitely a connecting thread there. And I remember I'd get really upset when he wouldn't like something, or he'd be critical of something that I really liked. And now that I'm older and I'm, critical of things myself, I realize that it's not that he was just trying to be a dick about it. It's that, like, he's like, no, I want things to be good. Like, I want things to be higher quality. Both, for your own enjoyment of the experience, and also because, like, holding things to a higher standard helps you create better things. And whether you're actually a creator of, of any kind of media yourself, like whether you're an artist or, you make music or you write or any of that, holding yourself to a higher standard, holding everything to a higher standard means that you can hold yourself to a higher standard. And if you begin to actually be critical of things, you can effectively be self-critical without being, I guess, just like beating yourself down. So it's, I don't know, I think it's a valuable skill to have, and it only comes with practice. It comes with actually being critical of stuff and being okay with saying, this isn't quite right, this is what I would do better, and actually legitimately wanting it to be better. Like, I'm going to buy and play Axiom Verge 2, because, it's been quite a few years, and I assume the designers have learned a lot from it, and who knows, maybe, like, it's going to come out, I'm going to be like, holy shit, Axiom Verge 2 is such a departure from the first game. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm, like, in the same way that Metroid is so much not as good of a game as Super Metroid, maybe Axiom Verge 2 is the same way. So, another thought I just want to expand on that is that being critical of things in general, doesn't just apply to art you create, but it can also apply to the way you conduct yourself and the way that you express yourself. Whether it's just talking to people, having human connections, or whatever, because ultimately art is about expressing yourself through a specific medium. But just talking to people counts too, man. It's not just about being a producer that way. So I guess I'll be clear also. A lot of corollaries and addendums and all this, but it's not always about, you don't have to be hard on yourself all the time. Every conversation you have doesn't need to be a fucking minefield. I'm doing a really good jumping in all these projectiles. But that's right, it's a little bit stronger. I should use it because it's just a little bit stronger. Ooh, that's a fall. I don't know, every time I say something, I feel like I gotta say something else to, like, act as a corollary to it. I just care about my message being understood. Everything is shades of gray. Everything's difficult, except for Nazis. Fuck Nazis. But, like, everything else is pretty, like, there's a this or that, a give or take to all of it. And, I'm gonna try and better express that as well as I can while I talk and play video games. Also, please leave in the comments that I'm trying too hard. That would make my day. Thank you. I just always think like this, I guess. I always talk like this when I'm having conversations with close friends like you all here. I like getting into really deep discussions about what makes things tick, you know, what makes things work. For the same reasons I outlined earlier. I want to make sure that I understand how things work so that I can work with them or use them effectively. And if I don't give a shit about whether or not something works effectively, I won't think about it too much. Like, actually, I'm trying to think of a good example at this point. All right. Oh, that's an upgrade. I want that. Can I do a murder on this guy? I'm gonna do a short murder on this guy. See, I don't even think about the things enough to know what it is I'm not thinking about, but... Great. I like thinking about game design. And, yeah, so I'm gonna keep talking about that as long as I can. This new area. Is that a thing? Oh, that's an enemy. Rude. Rude. Extremely rude. Knocking me into another place. I don't like that very much. Save points close enough by. If I hit him from over here, he doesn't aggro. That's nice. Does that hurt? Yep. You always gotta try, right? I spent a lot of Rain World not experimenting with things that I should have experimented with, and I ended up missing. Like I've been reading through the wiki on stuff and learning about the lore. There's like a whole bunch of lore that I like didn't even know you could get to. I'll actually refrain from doing too many Rain World spoilers in here because it's a pretty rich game and I don't want to spoil it for anybody else who wants to play. But yeah. Oh, where was my thought going with that? Caught on camera. Denied. First time losing his thought. I made some spicy bean dip today. It's a can of refried beans, can of tomatoes with some chilies in them. My wife and I really like hot sauce, so we have Da Bomb. If you're familiar with Hot Ones, we bought Da Bomb so we could do some Hot Ones stuff ourselves. That's extremely delicious. So I had some of that, maybe a little bit too much. A lot of chili powder, probably more chili powder than I needed. Get some salt for flavor and some cumin. Oh, this is the part where you can't return from. I remember this now, yeah. To really like flavor up the beans a little bit. Dice up some onions, dice up some green peppers, mix it all around. Chef's kiss, extremely good. Almost too spicy even for my taste, and I love spicy food. That little tangent brought to you as a palate cleanser. So if you want to think about or hear about food, that's the moment. Really, that's a sign that I'm very hungry. It is the evening. I'm done with my day job of writing computer software, and I would really very much like to make dinner so I can eat that dinner. Really breaking the fourth wall here about the fact I'm playing a video game shooting guys. Also, it kind of highlights how little I actually need to pay attention to the game, because like I actually don't remember. I don't remember the last few rooms, which maybe that's kind of a dig against this game more than anything else. Is like I hit buttons, I go, I shoot the guys, and I hit buttons, and then it goes. Like when I was playing Rain World, I had to be 100% focused on everything. When I was playing Ori 2, I wrote a review up of that game. I need to like get a single domain somewhere that I can host that stuff on, I can link to, but I played Ori 2 to 100%. I wrote a review of it, and the whole time I was playing Ori 2, I was having a blast. You know, there's a lot going on. I had to pay attention to it. The environments are beautiful. This is just kind of like stuff, man. Yeah, I like really, please, anybody who's like a huge fan of this game, if you can please outline like why this game stands out to you. I really want to hear it. Like I'm not gonna shit on you. My goal is not to like shit on anybody's opinion about games. Oh, cool. I'm probably gonna die. I legitimately want to know what stands out about this game because I have a lot of hard times with it. Not like, again, died a couple of times. I don't view dying in a game as having a hard time. Dying in games is just the failure state. It's a natural part of the learning process. I'm talking about, like, I'm not connecting with this game in the same way that I connect with other games. Really, a lot of that seems to be bullshit. A lot of that seems to be bullshit. A lot of it seems to be... Nice. Oh, little detail. I do appreciate this. I seem to recall that in every area, the health beeping thing is always to the tempo of the music. That is a really good design call. And then the fade out, the slow fade out, really fucking choice. I want to give the designers a lot of credit for that. That's a very smart audio design decision. Because, especially in Metroid, that noise... Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I made it. That noise is so annoying. Cool. Well, I was like 2 feet away. I don't even actually know why I was running back, because dying doesn't really matter. I gotta say, I like the colors in this area better. There's a little bit more going on. Maybe I just do like blue kind of a bit. Okay, do they tell us what the names? Okay, they do. Absuzi. So, yeah, all right. So Absu is the other area. This is one of the things I wasn't I came up with a term recently, or a concept of weak Metroidvanias versus strong Metroidvanias. And one of the considerations for a weak versus a strong is that the areas are connected in more organic ways. Both Metroid 2 and the Metroid 2 remake for the DS are weak Metroidvanias in that it's like basically just a straight loop. There's no like area 3 connects to area 1 in this interesting way, or like in Hollow Knight, you can get into every area pretty much like one of two, at minimum 2 different ways, with the exception of like the Abyss. But major areas you get into like 2 or more ways, and there's different power-ups you need to get there. So there's this like different paths you can take. There's different ways, different progression paths you can go get. You know, I'm not gonna spoil too much about Hollow Knight, though. I'm sure everybody who's watching this has played it before. But you can go get, you know, power-up B first, and then you can go get power-up D, and then power-up F. You know, you can kind of jump around based on like what your own path is, and that's cool. That's to me what makes a strong Metroidvania, one where the areas are connected organically and in many different ways, and give the player different options about how they want to route. Not specifically about sequence breaking, but about sort of like world connection. And weak Metroidvanias are ultimately very linear in that you go to area A and then you go to area B and you go to area C, and maybe you have to backtrack to area A to eventually go to area D, but that's not really a new... That's just backtracking. It's not like a new path. And there's a spectrum for this whole thing where like maybe you have to backtrack, but there's a new route you go through to backtrack, so it's a separate part of an area you've already been to, and it all ends up connecting up, and like that all plays into it. And to me, it ultimately figures into whether or not it feels satisfying to explore the space. And I just remember not feeling as satisfied exploring the space because the areas are very blocky. Like you look at the map, this is a very traditional Metroidvania thing where like each room is considered a square. Or each super room is like a square of squares, and then each room is a square. And I've really grown on the idea of like rooms as being just their own shape, and they're connected based on whatever room transitions you have. Hollow Knight does this, Rain World does this. I'm trying to think about what else does it effectively. But yeah, I'm talking right now because we're coming up on the end of the episode, and I didn't really want to do any more running around right now. I just kind of want to share my thoughts, so... Yeah, I'll keep playing, I'll keep recording this game, Axiom Verge. I will not be drinking whiskey on the future episodes, but I'll still be talking, and I'm probably going to start talking again on Blasphemous. Sometimes I just need a break, and I'll probably tag which ones are quiet. Though, you know, I kind of like being able to explain my decisions on like, oh shit, I died there because I did something stupid, and the stupid thing I was trying to do is X, Y, and Z, so who knows. Anyways, this is all for me in the future, and whoever else feels like enjoying this. Thanks for watching. See you later.